Hi, welcome everyone to the October 3rd meeting of the Long Meadow Select Board. And I'll read my announcement. This is Select Board Chair Josh Levine. I will be confirming that all members and persons anticipated on the agenda are present and can hear me. Members, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Mark Gold.
Here.
Dan Zwerka.
Here.
Staff, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Lynn Simmons.
Here.
Mike Barbieri.
Here.
This open meeting of Long Meadow Select Board is being conducted in person with a remote option available to the public consistent with Chapter 20 of the Acts of 2021. This meeting is convened in person and via Zoom webinar as posted on the agenda and town's website identifying how the public may join. There is no chat or Q&A function. All the materials for this meeting are available on the agenda posted on longmeadow.org. The public is encouraged to follow along using the posted agenda unless I note otherwise. Each vote taken in this meeting will be conducted by roll call vote. This meeting will feature resident comment. For residents attending the meeting in person, please fill out the public comment form given upon arrival at the meeting. I will call on residents in the order in which the forms are received. For residents participating in the meeting via Zoom webinar format, members of the public are attendees. If a member of the public would like to speak during resident comment, please use the raise hand icon at the bottom of the screen. The meeting moderator will promote you to panelist, unmute you, and give you permission to speak. To join the webinar by phone, dial *9 to raise your hand and *6 to unmute. Residents who wish to speak will identify their names and addresses only. Each individual is afforded 3 minutes for comments. Please note that this meeting is being recorded and that some attendees are participating by video conference. Please remember to mute your phone or computer when you are not speaking. And we will go to the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, first up on our agenda tonight, we have our announcements. Public forum on middle schools. The Long Meadow Public Schools have started a series of interactive informational sessions for members of the general public to learn more about the facility-related needs of Glenbrook and Williams Middle Schools. The next public forum will be held on Wednesday, October 12th at 1 p.m. at the Long Meadow Adult Center, 211 Maple Road. And there's also another public hearing session on October 12th at 7 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. at Williams Middle School. Community members interested in learning more about the facility needs of Glenbrook and Williams Middle Schools may review reports and presentations posted to the LPS website. Fall Special Town Meeting. The Fall Special Town Meeting is scheduled for Tuesday, October 25th, 2022 at 7 p.m. in the Long Meadow High School Gymnasium. There will be a public informational warrant review session on Wednesday, October 19th at the Long Meadow Adult Center at 6 p.m. where members from the community can ask questions and learn more about the warrant articles. For additional information, please visit longmeadow.org/town-meeting. Long Meadow's Fall 2022 Leaf Program announces. The town of Long Meadow will provide a curbside bagged leaf collection program again this fall. Curbside collection of the town PAYT, it's an acronym, I don't know what it stands for. Leaf bags will be held on Saturday, November 5th, Saturday, November 19th, and Saturday, December 3rd. This schedule is subject to change due to weather. Residents who are putting leaf bags out for collection are advised to have them to the curb by 7 a.m. on those Saturday mornings. For additional information and options for leaf disposal, please visit the Department of Public Works Leaf Program page, and there's a link in the agenda.
Josh, P-A-Y-T, pay as you throw.
Pay as you throw. I knew it was pay as you, but I didn't want to guess on the T. All right. I'm glad glad everyone else knew. Select Board seeks applicants for DEI Advisory Committee. The Select Board is seeking applicants for the recently created Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee, DEI Committee. Residents who are interested in learning more and applying can visit the DEI Advisory Committee page, longmeadow.org/DEI. There's a direct link for the board and commission application on this page. Applications will be accepted until November 1st, 2022. First up, resident comments. Good evening, Tom.
Good evening, Mr. Lane. Mike's gonna give you handouts quickly. Thanks, Mike. So Tom Shea, 81 Green Meadow Drive. I'm coming before you as, I think, a professional courtesy, since there are certain items in the water usage warrant that we need to address now rather than at the town meeting. I ask the chairperson and board's indulgence if I exceed 3 minutes, but I'm trying to help you, and this is a big issue for the town. I've corresponded recently with Mr. Levine and Ms. Simmons, and I think that has been helpful. As recently as this afternoon, Lynn has told me the bylaw for water conservation was drastically changed. It now strictly relates to Long Meadow water infrastructure, and if there's ever a supply issue with Springfield, is not a water use restriction to have us achieve the 65-gallon usage. So I appreciate all of that. However, there are at least 4 items that I believe need to be addressed in the black line version that reference the MGL 21G Massachusetts Water Management Act and its regulations. The state of drought shall mean a drought advisory watch consultation with the Massachusetts Drought Management Task Force, and the board may declare a state of water supply to ensure compliance with the Wastewater Management Act. So I think those need to be addressed. So the warrant needs to be only, as Lynn had stated, but I'll repeat, Long Meadow water tower issues, Long Meadow equipment issues, Springfield water resource issues, and equipment issues. Anything to do with the state, such as Water Management Act, state of drought, or any reference to them, should be deleted. I'm trying to help you get this through because people have a bias against it, obviously. Springfield and Long Meadow have had a contract for decades, which was restated in 2009. Springfield can curtail volumes due to reservoir conditions with a 7-day notice and any time for mechanical issues. Springfield is classified as a water registrant since 1986. Therefore, its water volumes are grandfathered, as are its customers, which is Long Meadow, and not constrained. Other communities are permittees that limit their well water, lake withdrawals, and they're, in essence, they're regulated by the state. So the peer group in Western Massachusetts, Springfield, East Long Meadow, Agawam, and Ludlow are all supplied by Springfield's Cobble Mountain. None, I repeat, none of these towns has a bylaw which is as proposed here, and none declared any voluntary or involuntary water use ban this summer except for mechanical reasons. If you see page 3 of the handout, and please look at that, color printing is not cheap these days. You can see Western Massachusetts is all in white, which means there was no water ban. Springfield, East Long Meadow, Agawam, Ludlow. So what I'm saying is, and I'll trust that this is our intent, we don't want Long Meadow to be different than East Long Meadow. The water resource, see page 1 of your handout. Cobble Mountain, which is our resource, was at a normal level and is now in the 80% of capacity. There is no water resource issue here for us. Map of the state water restrictions. See attachments 2 and 4. The towns supplied by the Massachusetts Water Resource Association, which are in the dark blue, that's the Quabbin, as well as Springfield. They do not have watering bans. That's as of September, and shows which towns and areas have watering bans. Quabbin supplies 50 communities, mostly in eastern Mass, but also Chicopee and Wilbraham. Note, there are no restrictions for Boston, Needham, Milton, Quincy, Waltham, Brookline. I could go on. So I look at it and say, in August of 2023, if there are water restrictions not dictated by the 4 things I mentioned earlier, how do you explain to town residents if Long Meadow has a water usage ban and East Long Meadow and Newton do not? There is a group of municipalities that are opposing unnecessary water restrictions. I think Long Meadow should be part of these if it's not. In the warrant as drafted, there is a change that says may. I've done financing and bankruptcy documents for many decades. I really don't like a may in there since I do not know who will be in your chairs going forward. And that references specifically a Massachusetts requirement. The actual water article, and I know you've made changes, but that was a cut and paste off the Drought Management Task Force webpage. It will be most restrictive because the task force wants it that way. That bylaw is directed for permittees, such as towns that draw from wells, which we are not. So in conclusion, scale back the warrant, Long Meadow water tower issues, Long Meadow equipment issues, Springfield water resource issues, and equipment issues. Anything more is pandering and kowtowing to state regulators. I'll trust the correspondence that I got this afternoon. This will be scaled back, and I'm hoping, and I believe that's your intent. So I think you should look at certain provisions that are still in the warrant that refer to actions based upon a drought advisory by the state. I believe those should be stricken. If you keep this clean, I think it passes. Thank you. And I know you don't do questions and answers. If you have any, Josh, at your discretion, or I look forward to seeing you discuss this.
Thank you, Tom. I will just note I did not promise to scale it back, just for the record.
I know
Did
that.
not say that. Oh, you just said I
Oh,
said that
I'm
from my
sorry.
correspondence. Did not say anything like of the sort.
No.
I wouldn't speak for the board.
I guess the original, let me repeat, or go back. The email from Lynn said that it has been scaled back from prior drafts.
Right, that's correct. Okay.
My suggestion, if you want this to pass, is to scale back some of those provisions that still relate
Okay.
to state.
Thank you for
mandates.
clarifying. That's,
Sorry about that.
yeah, that's okay. Thanks, Tom.
Thank you, appreciate the time.
Okay, anybody else, Mike?
No one has their hand raised.
Okay, anybody in the room? No? Okay. Sorry, I keep losing my windows. Select board comments. Go ahead, Mark.
Yeah, I have a few. First of all, I just want to report, I attended on behalf of the board a couple of meetings this past couple of weeks, the Pioneer Valley Planning Commission's Metropolitan Planning Commission meeting. They just talk about traffic projects, and nothing for Long Meadow has changed, so I'd report that. Also, the Scantic Valley Health Consortium for five-town health consortium, I attended that. Town of Long Meadow is pretty well represented. The chair is Arlene Miller from the town of Long Meadow. The treasurer is Paul Pasturzik, who's formerly from the town of Long Meadow, is our CFO and now acting CFO. And so there's nothing new to report in Scantic Valley. I think they actually closed their fiscal year as they expected, perhaps a little bit better than they expected. The early part of the fiscal year 2022 losses that they had, and remember, when you're talking about healthcare, one or two individuals, insured individuals who have extreme healthcare costs can really impact the entire system, and that's why you have a system. And so they actually had a couple of people early in the fiscal year that looked like there was going to be negatively impacted. They do a great job with what's called reinsurance, and by the end of the year they'd fully recovered, and they were on their way, and they stand by their commitments for the current fiscal year. So I think they're in good shape. The third thing I want to point out is in our packet, and for people at home, we did finally get a response from the Hamden County Regional Retirement Board did get a response from their insurance carrier. We included that in the packet. It's interesting to note with what the letter from the insurance carrier says is that, and I'm paraphrasing it, so please excuse me if I'm a little off, but it says, we don't really insure you. We actually insure a statewide organization that you may be a member of, but we disavow any insurance for the leadership team at the Hampden County Regional Retirement Board, and therefore we decline to make any payments because you're not insured. And which leads me, and actually a couple other people have read it, to understand that perhaps the directors and officers of the Scannick Valley Regional Retirement Board, not Scannick Valley, the Hampden County Regional Retirement Board, excuse me, actually have no insurance. There was another letter that was written earlier on by their insurance carrier that said nothing that was done was illegal. It may have been improper, but one of their insurance covenants is something has to be done illegally. It wasn't done illegally. It was just all done improperly. The signatures were all done by their own free will and all that kind of stuff. But I thought it was interesting to say that, in fact, that their insurance carrier disavows any insurance coverage on their directors. And so I intend to, and I assume a few other people intend to go back to the directors and officers of that agency and say, so now that you're not insured, how are you going to cover these losses? Or something to that effect. But anyway, I just wanted to report on that because at the last meeting you said, have we heard back?
Right.
And now we have.
And I read the letters. I thought that was very interesting. I've never done reinsurance work or insurance litigation, but I assume this is what they do. The first step is to deny, and then you have to fight it. I just wonder, probably the way to get the Hampden County to fight it is to say, well, now you don't have insurance, so what are you going to do? But I guess the methodology for that will be interesting.
Interesting comment, Josh, because I took the letter and I forwarded it to John Parsons, who's the chairman of PURAC, which is the statewide agency which oversaw the audits. It caught him unawares. I guess is the best way to put it. I want to watch my words. But he said he was unaware that the insurance that Hampden County Retirement Board and many other regional retirement boards have been paying for all these years, in fact, doesn't cover these boards. And he was going to bring it to his board, the PURAC board, and find out what they thought about it. And so I think this is just the first step. I'm not promising anything or what's going to happen, but clearly caught me off guard. I think it caught PURAC off guard and a few other people. And I suspect you may be right. The first response is deny it, and then we'll see where they go. But they did not address the core claims as being invalid. They just said, we don't insure you. So you saw that. Anyway.
We don't insure you, and we don't insure that anyway. Which is
right. But we'll see what happens.
A little double whammy, yeah. All right, thanks, Mark. Anything from you, Dan?
I'm good, thank you.
Okay.
Josh, if I may, there was maybe a hand that I missed during resident comments that.
Oh yeah, I saw that Q&A pop up.
Do you mind opening it back up?
Yeah, we can bring in Jessica. I'll tell him that was my 3-minute timer going off before, but you got my indulgence. So.
Thank you very much.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, my name is Jessica Kelly and I live at 37 South Ave. I just had a question about the water report. I don't know, I think a recent one was in May. I don't know, do you guys have anything to do with that? Are you allowed to say?
This is a comment session, so if you'd like to
Yeah, no,
speak
I just
on
don't want to comment on it if you guys don't have any, if you're not associated with it. But the only concern I have, or the main concern I had, was the fluoride. It says that the fluoride is it promotes healthy teeth in the drinking water, and that we have ideal levels of fluoride in our drinking water. I don't know if you've looked into that at all, but that's actually like very much not true. There's no ideal, like fluoride's a topical treatment for teeth, so ingesting it is not, it's like a neurotoxin. You're not supposed to ingest it for healthy teeth, so I'm wondering if you guys have any like concerns, or if you have looked into that, or if you could look into that, because that's a little bit concerning that it's just listed as if it's a given that it's a healthy treatment for teeth to drink. I guess that's it. I don't know. Just if you could look into fluoride and maybe talk about it at some point, I would appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, town manager's report.
Thank you. So I'm pleased to announce that for the 8th consecutive year, the town was awarded the Distinguished Budget Presentation Award for its FY 2023 budget submission to the Government Finance Officers Association, also referred to as GFOA. Thank you to Interim Finance Director Paul Pasturzik and all the department heads for their efforts to provide the information that was required. A special thank you to Assistant Town Accountant Alicia Gonsalves for coordinating all the information and getting it ready in its final form before submission. A copy of the budget's available on the town website, and it's also linked there in the town manager's report. ADA mats have been installed at Blueberry, Wolf Swamp, and Center School. These mats allow ADA access to the playground components. Further ADA efforts are in the works in the form of grant applications to the Massachusetts Office on Disability and a possible Community Preservation Act grant to add additional playgrounds equipment. A Source to Sea cleanup was done the weekend of September 24th and 25th. Long Meadow residents participated in a Source to Sea cleanup in the area of Cooley Brook. The group, which also included scouts from Troops 90 and 5090, collected 77 bags of trash ranging from 20 to 60 pounds, a tire, a hubcap, hula hoop, and a 6-foot metal pipe, alcohol containers off the trails, and plastic candy and snack wrappers around the playground and athletic fields continue to be a focus of cleanup efforts. The group plans to hold a Source to Sea cleanup next year and focus on the area of Cooley Brook by Long Meadow Street. Thank you to the volunteers for their efforts in helping keep Long Meadow clean, and there are some photos of what was collected there. And that is all I have for my report tonight.
Okay, thank you, Lynn. Anything for Lynn? I'd like to thank the residents who helped on that cleanup. It looks like a lot of stuff was hauled out. I wish it wasn't there in the first place, but I'm glad that the scouts especially are out there doing their part. Moving to old business, September 6, 2022 draft meeting minutes.
I'll make a motion, we approve the minutes of the September 6th, 2022 Select Board meeting.
Second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right, unanimous. We had, next on to the Energy and Sustainability Committee recommendations. Do we have anyone here to
I
present
believe
today?
Elizabeth is here. Yeah.
Oh, hi, Liz.
Hi, I'm Liz Bone. I'm the clerk of the Energy and Sustainability Committee. I was just here to answer any questions, I guess.
Did you raise your hand, Mark? Oh,
No, but I will.
Okay, so I'll start off. So we heard from one resident who had a bad experience with Homeworks.
Yes, one. Mhm.
Yeah, and I found the letter from Energy Save helpful. I was hoping to get word from another town or two on how their experience has been. But I did find that the Energy Save, which is, seems like an arm of the Grinspoon Charitable Foundation,
Right.
I thought that was useful. I'd like to hear what the rest of the board has to say. Mark or Dan? Go ahead.
Okay, yeah, Liz, I guess my concern is the perception of exclusivity.
Right.
When in fact, we all know that this is a.
Right. It's non-binding. It's
Right,
not
and
exclusive
how-
agreement.
How can we make sure people understand that, look, we're encouraging this, and we've arranged, with this group to go out and proactively solicit you. But,
Right.
If you find somebody else, that's good too. Is
Right.
there a way to do that?
Well, I would say there's a couple main reasons why we like this group, Homeworks. One, they work in the Western Mass area, where most groups that work with Mass Saves works in the eastern part of Massachusetts, and therefore we can't even utilize them. Some other things that are going to help us that they do for us, and you wouldn't get it from just going to Mass Saves, is they'll help us with promotional materials. They will, what was it, the other thing? They will give us data back on what people are doing in Long Meadow for their energy efficiency on their houses, and that's something that we wouldn't get back from Mass Saves. Excuse me. They're actually coming to the Long Meadow Festival this weekend and helping signing people up for energy audits. Again, we asked Mass Saves to come out, and they wouldn't even respond to us, so that's very helpful. I think and they're going to have a landing page, basically a website, and it will show all the data of people saving energy in town. And again, that's something that Mass Saves won't do on their own for us. And we're not paying them anything. It's all paid through the state. And, I run our energy and sustainability Facebook page, and I do a lot of the work for our Long Meadow website energy sustainability page, so I can always promote anything on there just for Mass Saves in general.
Okay, do we know how Homeworks is likely to represent themselves when they call on Long Meadow residents relative to,
Right.
they're not a part of the government. They're
Right.
Do we have any idea or any control of that?
They're not going to be doing anything door to door. They'll do flyers for us if they want. So when they'll have to be called to get an energy audit or signed up at any events that we're holding for them. And I think that they're known as a partnership with Mass Saves, and they're just one of their vendors that they use.
Okay, thanks.
Dan?
Yeah.
I had met with Andrea. I'm a liaison to this committee, so I guess first and foremost, I really appreciate all the work that you and the other committee members did here.
Thanks.
The fact that this is non-binding, that we can actually step out after 6 months or a year, I like that.
Right.
I think that that's an important first step. Secondly, having a direct point of contact, someone that we can call at Homeworks is certainly also a nice attribute to this service. And then also all the statistics that we're getting as well. Now, would that be plugged into the Long Meadow website, or would it be?
It will be on the landing page that they are creating for Long Meadow, but we always can take that data and put it on our Facebook page or our town web page.
And the fact that other residents, they're not bound to going directly.
No, not at all. They can call
go-
Mass Saves if they want, all by themselves, or they can find out if they use any other vendors and call them directly.
Yeah. So, I think overall, personally, I think this is a good idea for the town, and I think we should,
Yeah.
look at this for at least a year, and if things aren't going well, then we terminate the agreement. There's not a cost to the town as far as I'm concerned.
No cost, yeah.
Someone like myself who's a first-time home buyer, I actually leveraged Homeworks. I personally didn't have a problem with it, and I've saved energy costs. So
Right.
I think it's a good idea for any new homeowner to take advantage of these, types of scenarios that are out there that you can leverage a group like Homeworks. So I'm all for it. I think it's a good idea. I think you guys did a great job with the committee work, and that's why we have these types of committees in town to put all your hours and energy and no pun intended towards doing things like this. So again, I really appreciate all of your efforts here, and I think it's a good idea for the town.
So
Thank you.
My Solarize experience nightmare has continued and escalated today, in fact,
Oh, really?
which I won't get into.
Right.
But that's really where my hesitation has come from. That program worked for most people. It left me with a very bad taste in my mouth, and I get wary of putting Long Meadow's name on it. So my question is,
Right.
in Solarize, when I got hooked up with the company,
Mhm.
and then that was it. I was handed off. It's just the two of us. Is there oversight from Mass Save if we have a bad experience with Homeworks or our residents do, and we tell Mass Saves, can they lose accreditation? Can they stop being a Mass Saves partner?
I would believe so. I mean, they partnership with them, and they sign contracts with them, with Mass Saves. And what they're doing for us is not, as it said, just an understanding. I see what you're saying about having a bad experience. I got to say that any sort of energy audit or my own solar or any construction I ever do, it is always a struggle. It is never easy to get a contractor to do anything. They never call back, whatever. So I feel like having someone who is in Western Mass, and at least the head of it, the guy, Michael, I cannot say his name, Stephanos. At least he's a contact point, and it looks like from that email that he sent back to Dave, he was wanted to make things right. So,
Yeah, I guess that's really,
right,
and the non-binding aspect is the only reason I am leaning towards it, because
Right.
I think that it is non-binding. If it goes poorly, we walk, but
right,
I hope it doesn't get to that point.
right.
Go ahead, Mike.
Go ahead,
I was
Liz,
just going to
finish.
say, I think the data is really important that they're going to get back to us, because we have a lot of state standards that we need to uphold with the what's it called? The
Green communities.
Green
20
communities, right,
23.
thank you. So I know from where I work, when I've called my building department and asking them, hey, do you know how many people in town have solar? No, they don't keep track of anything like that. So just seeing how we can track energy savings for our community is really important. And that's something that this company gives to us.
Okay.
So,
Mark?
yeah.
Just a question, I guess it's for you, Lynn. The proposal was that we sign a memorandum of agreement or memorandum of understanding, an MOU. I assume that the town signs it, so that'd be you and not the Energy and Sustainability Committee. And before we do that, do we need to get our town attorney just to say, yeah, it looks, okay, and I guess I'm,
Yes, and I emailed about that last week, so that was my next question for
okay.
Mike
so-
and Lynn.
Yeah, I mean, so I assume that this is contingent upon it passing muster by our town attorney.
And Mike, have we heard from Jesse on that?
Not at this time.
I think we weren't clear that that was a directive at the last meeting.
No, I agree with that, and so I
Okay.
emailed Mike
Yeah.
last week to clear it up, because that wasn't clear, but that was my intention. We haven't heard back yet.
Yep.
But, yeah, I think before we sign anything, we'd have to have council do it. And if we are in agreement contingent on that, I would be okay with them moving forward at the fair this weekend, at least being at the booth. But probably have to limit how they use their language there.
Well, but more importantly, one could say, why do we need this? I mean, Liz, go do it. It would almost be my take on this. And so, did we ask for this MOU, or did Homeworks ask for it? And if they asked for it, there's got to be I would assume that there's a reason, because they can certainly be our Energy and Sustainability Committee's preferred supplier of, audits and just go do it without, because my understanding is that, or my concern is that excuse me, attorneys being what they are, they're gonna find little nitpicky things, and it's gonna be rewritten, and we're gonna be here a month or two from now, still fighting over individual words. And it seems to me that, I mean, I've had an energy audit done on my house, and it wasn't homework, but it's fine. It was done, I thought, well. I had some work done because I knew it needed to be done, and I was very happy, and I encourage everybody in the community who owns a home to do it.
Right.
But I would, I'm just wondering why it got to the point where we need this,
Right.
this,
Right, in agreement, I understand. I would say one of the main factors for that is that they create a landing page for our town with all our, energy savings. So if we decided to not use them anymore, they will take that landing page down. And if we didn't have an agreement, that would probably become a legal issue at some point.
I see what you're saying, Mark. I do see an advantage to an audit company focusing on our town and trying to get more.
That's fine.
It's good for them. It's good for us. That's why I see. Because I certainly see what you're saying, but I think if we give them a town an incentive or a company an incentive to make more of an effort on our town, I think that's good, a net good. And if it doesn't work out,
right, but given the, I don't know, informality to some degree, and that's not necessarily the best word, I think, because once you have an MOU, it becomes formal. MOU becomes a legal document. Lynn's going to sign it on behalf of the town. Somebody's going to sign it on behalf of Homeworks, and now all of a sudden it gets messy. As opposed, even though it says there's no obligation on either side, as opposed to saying the Energy and Sustainability Committee has looked them over. We've looked over a bunch of people. We like these folks, and go do it. And I'm going to vote for this, but all I'm saying is, don't be surprised, because I think we need to make it contingent upon our town attorney recognizing we're not getting ourselves into I assume they wrote the MOU, not us. And so we need to protect the town.
Right.
And I'm just afraid that this is going to just bollocks things up.
Right.
And I don't want to do that. I want to just say, go do it. And I'm sure
Right.
Dan is.
No, I was just going to say, I agree with Mark in terms of making sure that our legal, or our counsel looks at this and makes sure that everything's up to par. But I fully support this. I mean, I think even in our goals that we're going to talk about later, Lynn, I think for 2030, right, this goes back to just finding, ways that we can cut greenhouse gas. So we're going to be talking about it later as well, and I think this is just a good step in the right direction to get all the data as well. I mean,
Yeah.
I can't see you, Liz, going out door to door, getting all this data on your own. I think this is
No.
a lot of helpful
And,
data
yeah,
for the town.
and they're making promotional materials for us. They are making that landing page. And why would they do that for us if we didn't have some sort of agreement with them?
And I'm not arguing it, but you've got to recognize that at least my house, and I got to believe there's dozens, if not scores of houses aren't going to be included in that data because I happened to have chosen somebody beside Homework. And it doesn't mean I didn't like them, I just found somebody else.
Right.
And so, the data is good, but it's not complete. And,
Right.
And I'm not arguing with the value of it. I think there's value to it. I get
Yeah.
that. My only concern is that a month from now, we're still going to be tweaking words in a MOU, and they're going to be at this weekend's
Right.
fall festival. We're going to be going forward anyway. And my suspicion is that if it takes a month to sign the MOU, 25 days from now, we're going to say, hey, we're moving forward anyway. Don't worry about signing the thing. It's going forward, and which is I think what we wanted. But
yeah,
Right.
I don't want to speak for Jesse, but I'm not a municipal lawyer, but the way out of this, the non-binding nature of it, I thought was very clear. And that's why I just don't think we have to worry about it terribly. And I hope
Okay, that's
Right.
fine.
Jesse could correct me.
Right, and
Certainly.
the sample is from Lexington, which they have, so at least it's a reputable town
Right.
that's also using them and has a MOU that they have their lawyers look at as well.
Okay.
So,
Fine.
I'll entertain a motion.
Let me see if I can do this right.
You gotta do it every once in a while, right?
I make a motion that we accept the recommendation Let me see here. From the Energy and Sustainability Committee to enter into an MOU with Homeworks.
Can I offer an amendment, subject to review by our town council?
Yes,
Thank
please.
you.
I'll second that, and I'll second the amendment. All right, all those in favor? Okay, unanimous. Thank you very much, Liz.
Thank you.
Moving on to the draft warrant. $37 pages of excitement.
You want me to?
Yeah, please go ahead.
All right, so since our last meeting, it's undergone quite a bit of work. We've refined a lot of the explanations. A couple warrant articles have been removed, some have been modified. So we can go through one by one if you'd like.
Sure, and just before we get to the actual warrant, to the articles, on the first page in the guide, we changed raise and appropriate. It said just property taxes before, right? And
Yep.
now it says taxes, state aid. Oh, it says stated aid, actually. I probably read that twice, I didn't catch it before.
Yep.
Got it, okay. And local receipts.
Oh, yeah.
All right, yeah, I just wanted to make sure that was clear. And when is the Finance Committee meeting on this?
Wednesday night.
Okay. All right, anything else before we move on to the articles? All right, go ahead, Lynn.
Okay. So Article 1 is what we spoke about in detail at the last couple meetings, the funding for a feasibility study for the middle school. We have enhanced this explanation, but we are currently awaiting approval from MSBA to the changes that we made just to the explanation. Bond councils reviewed it, they were fine with it. So depending on what MSBA says, there may be a slight change just to the explanation. The warrant article itself is fine. Nothing's changed and it's been vetted. We're trying to really make efforts on the explanations so that the public can understand or have a better understanding before the meeting on what they're actually being asked to vote on.
Go ahead, Mark.
Lynn, do we plan not me, but does somebody plan on having a more formal presentation beside just reading it and then reading the explanation or not? I mean, we're talking $1.6 million and it's a pretty big issue. I don't know if it's Superintendent O'Shea or somebody from the school committee or somebody from our finance department, but I'm just, and I'm not saying I need it, but I'm just wondering if somebody's planning on doing that because we might want to, somebody might want to consider it.
Yep. We haven't talked about it yet, but I can bring it up and find out if there is a plan to do that. I think it would make sense.
Yeah, if even just to put into context how this fits into the whole process could be good. But
And Mike, I noted that Rebecca Townsend is on Zoom. Can we bring her in, Josh, if it's
oh, yeah.
worthwhile to be part of these discussions? I don't know, Josh, if you think it's...
If she's here, that'd be great.
Okay. Anyway, I'm not sure Rebecca has anything to add.
Well, I think especially in the later articles, she may want to speak on how we're going to do that.
That's fine. Okay. Well, I'm going to make a motion, we accept Article 1 for the warrant.
I'll second that. All those in favor?
All right. Article 2 has not changed since you last saw it. I'm happy to answer any other questions you might have.
Did it say non-benefited before?
I believe it did.
I thought that was the thing we talked about. Okay.
Maybe we
That was
added
the
it. but-
addition after the last meeting.
Okay. So that clears up. I think that was one of our questions. So
That was my
Marie
Angelides.
channeling Maria.
feeling,
Okay. Dan, you good?
Good, yeah.
yeah. Okay. I'll make a motion to accept Article 2.
I'll
Second.
Oh, and all those in favor?
Okay, Article 3, the major change here has been the explanation. Really tried to give voters a sense of the need for this position, what this position, the overall responsibilities of the HR department, how it's increased, and what this position would allow the department to do that it's not currently doing, which includes benefit audits and more timely assistance with FMLA requests, and dealing with the surge of job postings, and then participating in the hiring and departure process that we are being inundated with right now. And then the other portion of this would fund a consultant to come in and make some improvements to our payroll system and deploy employee self-service, which is a module that we've been paying for quite some time via Munis that has never been implemented. It would allow employees to receive W-2s and pay stubs electronically, amongst some other functionality to track their accruals and other benefits electronically.
Okay.
I make a motion, we accept Article 3 to the warrant.
Second.
All those in favor?
Article 4 was also modified in the explanation to add some clarity here about how long we anticipate receiving these payments for and the type of expenditures you can use this funding for, and that the money and use of this will be overseen by the Long Meadow Public Health Department.
I obviously think this is a good idea, but do we have are there any programs already in place, or do we have an idea of what kind of programs or work will be done with this money?
Specific to Long Meadow, the health director will be available that night. I know he and the public health nurse have been talking about that, but in terms of what's already in place, I mean, we have a group here at the high school, the close community, that does a lot of this opioid use disorder work, but also our police department does have Narcan.
Okay.
So that's also, we could expand that.
Go ahead, Mark.
Yeah, so I just want to be clear that this is actually taking the money and putting it into a budget line item, correct? So that now we're saying that, because it says the use of funds will be overseen by the Long Meadow Public Health Department, should not say the distribution of the funds, because for me, that makes it
Yep.
more clear that we're actually creating the budget, and they can then distribute it. And we're not going to go back to town meeting, or anybody else for that matter, just like we didn't do with the cigarette money that we got years ago and all that kind of stuff, that we're just putting this into the healthcare department. I'd prefer to say the distribution of the funds will be overseen by.
Yeah.
Paul?
I said, actually, this is not going into a budgetary account, Mark. It's going into a special account. It will still be overseen by the health department, but it's not going to have a fiscal year type of life.
Right, but in fact, it can be dispersed by approval of the
Yes.
health department.
Yeah, everything else you said was true.
Okay.
It's just that it's not a
It's not a
budgetary.
budget. Okay, so it doesn't show up in our health budget,
Right.
Okay, I appreciate that, Paul. But
So
I'd like,
distribution still makes sense.
right, I'd just like to suggest that we change the last sentence
Yep.
from the use of the funds to the distribution of the funds.
That's a good idea.
Thank you.
And we don't know how long these funds we're going to
Oh,
be.
yeah, we do. We know exactly.
Yeah, until
Yeah.
2038.
Okay. It's the
So-
same
so Zach owes
fund,
money.
the same fund every year? The same amount of money every year?
No, it's half of this. This is 2
Okay.
years' worth.
The
Gotcha.
bulk of it is coming in FY '22 and '23, and then it's plus or minus 28,000, give or take a little bit each year. It's like 26,749 one year, 32,621 another year. It's all over the place. So that was the average.
So we could really build up this account pretty,
Well, hopefully they'll be spent.
right? Yeah, but I mean, with, Narcan and other things, we could use it for that.
Oh, no, Mike, I think you're changing use to distribute, a distribution, right?
Right.
Yeah, the distribution of the funds.
Yep.
The distribution of the funds will be overseen by the Long Meadow Public Health Department. Thank you. I'll move we approve Article 4 with the modified comments.
Second.
All those in favor?
Okay. Article 5, don't believe there were any changes to this one since you last saw it. It's our standard CPA one.
I'll move we approve the Article 5 for inclusion in the warrant.
Second.
All those in favor?
Okay, Article 6, I don't believe there were any changes to either. The valuation.
I'll move we approve the Article 6 for inclusion in the budget.
Second.
All those in favor?
I think all we did was, you asked to put the word residential and commercial.
Right.
So we did that.
Thank you.
Okay, Article 7, the DPW legal fees. No further changes to this one either.
I'll move we approve Article 7 for inclusion in the budget, in the warrant, excuse me.
Second.
All right, all those in favor?
Okay, Article 8, the costs have remained the same. The explanation has been updated. Thank you, Josh.
Those numbers were off the top of my head. Is that accurate? The 42?
Yes.
That's a good guess. Okay.
I think we may have discussed that.
Oh, yeah, but you would have think I would have forgotten.
Yeah.
I guess I remembered. So not a good guess. Better memory than I thought I had.
So,
Are you able to make that bigger?
I'm only
Yeah.
concerned because of what went on in executive session, not to release that, but it says the attorney has estimated that an additional $140,000, so now we're saying the overall total cost for the next phase is $182,000, is that what we? No, excuse me, it's not, it's $198,000, because it's the additional 140 plus the 58 that remains?
Well, the total estimate was less than that.
Right.
This
It
gives
was
us a little,
209.
this gives us a little bit of, just in case. But yeah, and I still think we have not been billed for all the work that's been done.
We
but-
have not, right?
Yeah, so 240 gets us to the end. And,
Yes.
well, should be more than enough. And that's what my thought process was here. So that breaks us down to the end, the different phases, to the end of, the very end of it through DPU decision.
Right, but when I read this, I think it, to be more clear, at least for me, it would say approximately $42,000 has been expended with another, I think the number was $18,000 or $19,000 of spent but not yet paid, and then it's not $58,000 that remains, it's less than.
I thought the 19 was in the
The
42.
19's in the 42.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Okay, so then 58,000 plus the extra 140 that we're asking for is $198,000.
Well, we're not asking for, we already got the 58.
We got 58, but we're asking for 140, so that says we're anticipating $198,000 for this next phase of this effort.
Right.
And I didn't think that was the number.
Well, that's more than the number. but
Right.
Only because we gave,
It's more than the number. So why are we asking for 140 when we're being quoted something that will only need us to raise 120,000? Remember, This is using money out of our free cash.
We talked about this when it first came up, right? We're
Yeah.
overestimating a bit.
The estimate is 209
Right.
to get us through the EFSB process. At that point, we didn't have our full billing. We still don't have it, but we have a rough idea of $19,000. We've already spent, was it almost 12? It's like 11.6 or something. So 12, and then the 19 that is about to be billed and hasn't been yet.
Which is us to 42. So if we can make this 109, that's fine. Just a matter of how much leeway.
Well, I
There's,
understand you don't want to get it to the exact penny, but on the other hand, frankly, I don't want to tell the attorney, well, now you got $198,000, because guess what the bills will come in at? $198,000. You know, as opposed to saying, you know, what we said in the past is, we've appropriated $100,000, that's all we got. Now we're going to say, okay, we're going to get additional funding. Also, to be very practical to some degree, I think the smaller the number in line 1, the more likely this is to pass. You come in and say, we asked you for 100,000, now we need another 140, that's 240. Forget about anything else. That tells people the total cost was 240. That's a lot of money, you know, on something that, you know, has a low potential of stopping this gas pipeline. So, you know, if that upper number can be something less than 140.
Then it can be,
Well,
it can be 110.
It ought to be what it needs to be, what we've been told it's gonna be, in my opinion. You know, if we've been told it's gonna, that 110 plus the 58 that remains, 168, will do the trick. But let's make it 110.
Let's make it 110 if pending Lynn going back and running down what we got at executive session versus what we know. You think
Okay.
that's cutting it too close?
Yeah.
That's
So
all.
make it 120.
Haven't we asked council to?
Oh, yes.
I mean,
Yeah.
He gave us a bill, or not a bill, he gave us
The estimate.
the estimate that it brings us through
Right.
the conclusion.
But there were some questions on what he had included in there, and that's what we need to run down. But if it is, whatever he's given us, I know that 209 was the total. Let's work this number down to what that is. I think it's 110.
Okay.
But I also don't want to cut it that close.
In other words, the 209, Josh, is from day 1 to the end of EFSB.
That's my understanding, but what I
That was
think.
my understanding
Yeah,
also.
we need
Okay,
to make
that's
sure
right.
that that's.
And we had 100, so we need another 109, make it 110, make it 115 more.
Yeah.
You know, that's fine, but I just don't want to make it 140 more if we only need 110 more.
That 209 is the EFSB process.
Oh, it
The-
doesn't include MIPA?
Right. That other 100,000 from last year was MIPA, and I think that the other expert he had.
We've already paid for MIPA though, right? Isn't that?
That's the
end
bill
of it.
we're waiting on. That's the
Which-
19,000.
So that should still, but that would still be the 58, so that would still get us to, if we do 110, that's, or 109 would be on the dot, right?
Well, then that leaves us with 168.
Right, which I
And we
think
need
is,
209 to get us through the end.
oh, see, that's, I thought 209, Mark and I both thought 209 was everything, including what we had already done, because that chart went back to the beginning. Let me see if I can find it.
I don't remember it going back to the beginning, but. No, it started in September, October. It was to review and analyze Eversource's filing and file petition to intervene.
When did you send that to us, Lynn?
This was, I think it came from Mike, and it would have been around the end of August, early September.
Yeah, I have September 3rd dates.
.208.
FSP review. Here's the budget he gave us, Josh.
Yep, I have that, so I'm looking at
Okay.
that here.
That's the one that said 208, okay? Right?
And that's, so it's EFSB.
Dated August.
Review and analyze, yeah.
So if we look. The problem is, Lynn, in what's called the EFSB audit, okay, 20,000 of it is already task one, which is done.
It's not, because we can't, he hasn't filed the petition to intervene. He can't do that yet. The case hasn't been noticed.
So that's not done yet.
Nope.
Hmm. So if there's 58 left, then we have to get to 208.
You need 150, not 140.
Right.
That's what it says.
Is that right? From what
No,
you
I
understand?
think that the 19 plus the 11 or 12
Yeah,
is.
42 is off, I believe.
I think that's
Yeah.
really 32.
Yeah.
So we're actually, so it is 140.
Yeah.
Think I can look back on my last, I think it was September I did, when did I last
Yeah.
do a legal update?
August.
August.
Okay, so what we ought to be saying is 32 has been expended.
Yep.
And 68,000 remains then, right?
Mm-hmm.
And everything else would stay, yeah.
It might be helpful if it said and 68,000 remains unspent. That way, when we say the attorney has estimated an additional 140 will required. To fund legal representation to the entirety of the FSP trial, for a total of, it's not 240, then it's a total of 208.
Right, for that EFSB proceeding, right.
Which is, that's the only thing that makes that all jive.
So should it say 32,000 has been expended on the MIPA proceeding?
Okay.
Is that accurate?
MIPA and the
21
other
year.
expert,
Oh.
in advance of, in
Yeah, general-
anticipation.
Yeah, general review, yeah, okay. I'm okay with this then.
But it should say, below that, with a total of $208,000 yet to be spent, or anticipated to be spent.
Well, the 240 I had in there was what the total expenditure of the town would be. And that's what I think is an important number, so people know what we'd be spending. 208 is also an important amount, but I think I'd also
Right,
like.
because, well, but this says 32 plus 208 is 240.
But
Yeah,
I think
but
what
it-
you're saying is there was 100,000 voted the last
Right.
town meeting, so really it's been 240. That's with this firm. There was another firm that gas money had been spent on
Yeah,
before.
but I'd rather just, for the sake of not, for full disclosure, the total legal, or the total town expenditure on this issue would be 240,000. So I think it's better to keep 240 there. People can do the math on 208. They can do the math on 240, but I'd rather us say we are spending $240,000.
Okay. But on challenging the gas pipeline,
Yeah, that's fine.
because it's on the whole project, not on just the
Right, it's on
DEPA, not just
every
on
filing, everything we did, yeah.
EFSB. Anticipated to be spent challenging the gas pipeline, though.
Not to be super nitpicky, but I would say spent challenging the Western Mass Reliability Project.
Fine.
It's good nitpicking line, but you're right.
Now you see why this takes us so much time to even get it to you at this point.
All right, I will move that we accept warrant Article 8.
Second.
All right, any discussion? All right, all those in favor?
Okay. Article 9, these are prior year bills, right?
Yes.
Okay. The number has jumped quite a bit since the last version of this. The FY '22 books closed out and additional invoices were discovered. So that number has gone up a lot. The bulk of these are from the DPW. And I'll be making sure that that doesn't happen again next year. They have much more staff in place in the admin area, so I do feel like this is,
So Sean knows
won't keep
this was an
happening.
issue, yeah.
Yeah.
It's my understanding that prior year bills require a 90%, 9/10 vote.
There's different votes for an annual town meeting and a special town meeting, but I think the special is 9/10.
Yeah.
That probably ought to be included in the warrant.
Yeah, we will be
Yeah.
doing that.
Oh, okay, so
Um,
where it's 2/3 and all?
Yes,
Okay.
all of that will
Okay.
happen. Yep.
All right, I'll move we include this in the warrant, Article 9.
Second.
All those in favor?
Okay, Article 10, this explanation has changed slightly to include roads, grounds, and facilities. At the last meeting, it did not include grounds, but we do intend to use some of this to look at some ground improvements, including stuff at parks and playgrounds.
And this is for the engineering studies, not for, I mean, it's pretty clear it says that, right?
Correct, yep. This is to get these projects to a point where they are shovel-ready, where we can just submit them for grants to fund implementation.
Okay, I'll move we approve Article 10 for inclusion in the warrant.
Second.
All those in favor?
And Article 11 is OPEB. I think we've kept the number the same since the last meeting, and I don't believe anything else in here has changed.
We added the balance in the account.
Oh,
in the last
thank you,
sentence.
thank you.
Great. I'll move we approve Article 11 for inclusion in the warrant.
Second.
Is that missing a word in the second to last line to the OPEB stabilization up the? Is that up to the?
Up to, yep.
Okay. I'm sure you read it a million times and just, goes right
So
through.
many.
All right, all those in favor?
Uh, 12, you'll see that this number has jumped a lot since our last meeting. And this directly relates to two other warrant articles coming off. One was the glass showcase, and the other is the hazard tree work. And I can go into a little detail if you want as to why those are coming off, why those came off, which then increased this number.
Yeah, please do.
Okay, so the glass showcase is coming off. I think at the last meeting, I talked to you about how I needed to gather some more information, that I wasn't sure where this was gonna land. I did have the opportunity to meet with school officials and DPW and the facilities team. We reviewed the glass showcase issue. We looked at the bid that had been prepared. We had a conversation about how to proceed. No one feels great about needing to spend the kind of money that we initially thought we should spend, and we decided that we want to tackle this in a couple phases. One is removing the glass and securing the items in the cases. And we're also going to be working with a different architect this time to review other possible repairs. It's not just the glass itself, it's the frame needs to be reinforced. The glass is too heavy, and the hinges can't support the weight, and the box structure itself needs to be reinforced. So it's a little more than just a glass replacement. And so we do want the opportunity to have another architect take a fresh look at this. So we want to do a few things, and we do have the $75,000 from the capital article to put this project back out to bid, just to take the glass down, secure the showcases, and also use some of the funding to have another architect design something else that we're hoping can be less expensive than what was redesigned. We also will be doing a mock-up of a one plexiglass showcase, just to see how it looks and how it holds up over a few months or a year while we develop the rest of this.
What do you mean by secure? The items are in there now.
There are some items I'm told have value to them, and they don't want to leave them exposed. But then there's others, the trophies and photos that they really don't want people just being able to access.
So it's secure, just take them out.
Right.
Okay.
Well, no, that was one possibility, but then they need to store them somewhere. The other possibility is maybe a film that goes over each showcase. We're not entirely sure yet, so some of this is being worked on as we speak.
I just want to be clear. So we're not gonna remove the items that, plaques and trophies and things like that. We're not gonna remove these items from the high school. Is that fair to say?
We don't, you mean even if they're in storage?
No, I mean, we're still gonna have them showcased. It's just a matter of changing the glass and that type of.
Right.
Okay.
Yep.
Because I had some residents come to me suggesting maybe it'd be a good idea just to remove all of that, the relics, and I think that we should be keeping those.
Right. Yep. No, the plan is not to take them down completely and put them away. It's to rehab what's there to make it more usable.
And have we talked to Gilbane Construction at all?
No.
I know you and I met, and that was something we were gonna follow up on, because someone very high up there is a Long Meadow resident who worked on the project, 10 years ago at the high school. So I think we should be talking to Gilbane to see if they can help with some of the costs. And I don't know, I haven't seen the contract, but I think it
Yeah.
would be good for us to at least take a look at it and see if maybe we can get some assistance on the cost.
Yeah, so the contract has been reviewed. I've had conversations with town council. In terms of the contract, that's exhausted. So any sort of assistance would be voluntary.
I still think we could try to reach out and see if they'd work with us on our next option, so.
Okay.
I move we approve Article 12 for inclusion in the warrant.
Second.
All those in favor?
The other, just quickly, I won't take as long on this one. The other one that was removed to allow us to add more funds here was the hazard tree work and the stump removal. With the transition of DPW directors, the department's still getting up to speed on some of the ARPA allocations that had been done. And there was $300,000 in the ARPA plan for them to tackle some of this tree work. And so learning that, they withdrew the request for that warrant article.
Okay, great.
13, the premise of it is all the same. We have cleaned up the explanation a little bit to have it read better. Hopefully it makes more sense. I'm definitely open to suggestion if you don't think it does.
Yeah, and Dan and I were out looking at this last week, and it's a pretty sad-looking thing,
Yeah,
so.
yeah.
If we can, this sounds like a smart idea by Chief Dearborn to get this thing, it's a good chassis to swap it out, so I think this is, it's a smart idea.
I'll move we approve Article 13 for inclusion in the warrant.
Second.
All those in favor?
Okay, Article 14. I don't think anything changed here. I'm not sure if I cleaned up this explanation or not, or if it was already done before. This is the work for the water department for some of the design and engineering that they would like to do, especially in light of the failure that we had at the Forest Glen pump station this summer.
I'll move we approve Article 14 for inclusion in the warrant.
Second.
All those in favor?
Okay, 15, we did do some work on the explanation there. Just to add some clarity.
I guess the question, okay, I guess that, nothing, that's fine. It's all hydrants.
I can't remember if we asked about this before. Is there a supply issue problem with hydrants, or do we just not have the people or the contractors to do the hydrant swaps?
The budget, the annual budget was not enough to keep up with how.
Oh, so we were doing
often-
2 or 3, but there's
Yes.
more, okay.
There's a backlog.
My understanding is that hydrants get rehabilitated. Much of this is the installation of the rehabilitated and fixed hydrants.
It's possible. We don't do them in-house anymore.
Right.
It's done outside, so it's for the new hydrant and the installation.
It's like, it's like your car battery, you send back the old one.
Right,
They
yes,
send you new.
great.
I'll
But
move we-
they get certified by, I'm sorry.
Right, yeah. Yeah, they got it. I'll move we approve the inclusion of Article 15 in the warrant.
Second.
All those in favor?
Article 16, this explanation is still a work in progress. We did get some more information from DPW. I do not like the way it reads, so I will probably try to work on this tomorrow. We just received it late this afternoon. I mean, all the information will stay the same, it's just I don't like the way, it doesn't read right to me. So I will try to make some edits to this and clean up the spelling of Bay Path in one of the.
Is it worth saying that it's town property?
They do state in here that is a municipal pump station, but we could clarify that even more.
Why wouldn't it, why is it, it would seem to me that we'd want to say the flow meter located at,
Yep.
the flow meter
Yep.
located at the Bay Path
Yep.
pump station. It's our flow meter, it's not, it makes it
Right.
sound like it's
It-
Bay Path's.
Absolutely, yep. So this will be, I'll clean this up tomorrow, but the concept of it's the same.
Okay.
And similarly, in the explanation will say that the flow water pump and flow meter located at, right?
Mhm.
It should be at the Bay Path University pump station, I would think.
The whole thing is just kind of backwards. but
Yep.
if you- yeah.
Fine, I'll move we approve the inclusion of Article 16 in the warrant.
Second.
All those in favor?
Article 17 is similar. I think I'm going to work on the explanation a little bit more as well, but the whole concept of it is not changing.
Yeah, this explanation seems more straightforward to me.
Yeah, I mean, maybe I'm overthinking it, but I did want to try
Oh,
to
yeah.
explain why it was so important.
Oh, sure, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
And what it means if we don't do it and it fails.
Oh, it doesn't sound.
The only concern I have is we're trying to be too politically correct with saying at the Emerson Road wastewater pump station. So Emerson Road sewer pump station, sewage pumping station. People need to understand it's sewage that we're pumping in. If we don't fix this, we're gonna have a sewage problem. That's my opinion. I understand why it would say wastewater because it's everything, but I said we're gonna do whatever you need to, Lynn, but
Mhm.
we need to understand, people need to understand, you can't vote against this one. You know?
Right.
I'll move we include Article 17 in the warrant.
Second.
All those in favor?
Um, 18, they did provide some more information on later today. And I do think it's okay.
The last sentence is confusing. The article funds the cleaning which requires the material to be disposed of in a particular manner. The cleaning material? Or what's cleaned out?
Yes, you can't just bring it anywhere. It does have to be disposed of properly.
Yeah, okay.
So Lynn, these are gonna beg the question of, you know, if we didn't have a pretty liberal free cash this year, how normally does this stuff get funded? Is it, you know, should we have been, and there's a whole new group down there, but should some of these be budgeted on a rotating basis, like every year, every other year, every third year, in the sewer retained earning, you know, the
Yes.
sewer budget?
Yes, and these are coming out of sewer retained
Retained
earnings,
earnings,
not
yeah.
free cash.
Right.
And yes, they absolutely should be.
Okay,
We should be seeing these on the capital plan.
well, I'm not sure Article 18 is capital necessarily. I think it's more part of the sewer
Right,
operating budget.
yeah, you're right, the
Sewer
pump,
department
the
budget.
pump one. I
Right,
was
right, okay.
thinking. Yep.
I'll move we include Article 18 in the warrant.
Second.
All those in favor?
Okay, 19 is the vote for sewer retained earnings for the sewer rate.
I'm going to move we approve Article 19 for inclusion in the warrant, and I'm prepared to speak to it if there's any question. I know that the Finance Committee a couple of years ago, maybe it was even last year, spoke up against using retained earnings to adjust the sewer budget, but I think this is I think this is a different situation, A, and B, I think people realize that we billed you for it already, we've got the money in retained earnings because we billed you for it, so we're gonna move it out of retained earnings so we don't have to bill you for it a second time.
I think with that explanation, people hopefully understand. What happens if this doesn't pass?
We run a deficit in the sewer budget, and at the end of the year, we go and we ask for an adjustment in the
To
spring
make back up for this?
to
yeah.
move this in from the retained earnings so that we can balance the budget. I mean, ultimately,
It's a never-ending cycle, and it's been done, yeah.
So you're right. You approve the money now, or you approve the money later, and if you approve the money now, and it turns out that all this extra money came into the sewer fund this year, at the end of the year, we're gonna move it back into the retained earnings fund. So it's really,
One other possibility is that the tax rate would not be set. The Department of Revenue looks to make sure that your revenues or your sources side is equal to your expenditure or uses side, and this could possibly throw it a little bit out of whack.
always one guy.
Okay. Article, sorry, you didn't vote on that yet, sorry.
I think we did.
No, we didn't.
Oh,
I don't think so. I move we included Article 19. I said I was gonna do that, and I think Dean's second.
Oh, yeah,
Move.
second.
Okay.
all those in favor? I'm gonna watch the tape. I swear we voted on that,
Okay.
but I might be seeing things.
There was a motion.
Oh, all right, well, okay. Thanks, Mike.
Article 20 is the outdoor water use bylaw. It has not changed since September 19th, when you last saw it.
Let me pull up my,
So the comments we heard earlier tonight from Mr. Shea, I think regarded Section 6, which is says upon notification of the public that a declaration of state of water supply emergency has been issued by the Department of Environmental Protection, no person shall violate any provision. So it gives us the authority to enforce it based on a notification by the state DEP. And I think the comment we had was that at least Mr. Shea would rather see us restrict the allowances for declaration of water emergency to everything other than what's in Section 6. I guess what I need to understand is I'm not sure the word is authority, but what right do we have if a declaration of state of water supply emergency is issued by the Department of Environmental Protection? What obligations do we have, and what right do we have to say we're not doing it?
yeah, and I hope that Lynn can maybe clarify this. So the state of water supply conservation, that would be Long Meadow petitioning the state to declare the conservation, sorry, I'm asking this wrong. We would petition the state to declare that we have an issue, and then we can start regulating. Or do we not need to petition the state?
If we have a bylaw, we don't need to do that.
Okay,
What happened this summer, as we were monitoring it every 2 days, we would have had to petition the state to allow us to declare an emergency.
okay. And so under state of water supply emergency, that's declared by Department of Environmental Protection.
Right.
And that's not on
If-
our petition, that's if DEP does it on their own.
Right. Then
Okay.
your bylaw can go into, then you can use your bylaw to enforce it.
Well, Tom, I will address you out in the audience.
Consider what I said.
Yeah, I've definitely heard what you said. we're a different town. We have, I'm not particularly concerned with what other towns are doing or not doing, because we heard from our town leadership that we were having issues with our water supply, our water pressure, and I'm not going to leave us in that where I have to worry about that. So I'm looking back at Tom's comments. Give me a moment.
I mean, Josh, there's just a kind of rift here. I mean, the question is, do we want this to include the notice by the state DEP to trigger any restrictions we may put in place? And more importantly, will automatically trigger those restrictions? Or it
No.
may trigger, and the way it's stated, it may trigger those restrictions.
Right,
So,
I think we can make that more clear. The other thing, I think like on section 7, we see right at the bottom, it says, "The Declaration of Water Supply Conservation, State of Drought." State of drought, thanks, Tom, I'm getting to it. State of drought is not, that's a declaration by the state, so we should take that out. Because the state of drought will not put these into place necessarily.
No, a state of drought is the definition shall mean a drought advisory, watch, warning, or emergency declared by the Secretary of Energy and Environmental Affairs in consultation with the Massachusetts Drought Management Task Force. It's what happened all summer.
Right, but it doesn't start, Tom, please. It doesn't start our restricted water uses. That's,
Right, you decide.
right, but that's not what this says. It says a declaration of a state of drought shall include the following restrictions. I don't think there's a misstep there. There's no linkage. So if the state said there's a drought, that doesn't mean we're under restriction. It means that we can
Right.
put in restrictions. I don't think that's what this says. I think we need to
do
cut
you
out.
want it to say may include one or more of the following restrictions?
Oh, no, I think state of drought should just be cut out of there.
So how would you want it to read, Josh?
A declaration of state of water supply conservation, or state of water supply emergency shall include. We just, state of drought, because what I'm saying is state of drought doesn't trigger restrictions. It gives us the right to trigger restrictions. I think there's a disconnect the way it's written.
But the way this reads, Josh, and I'm not the attorney, it just says that a declaration of one of those 2 or 3 things, shall include these, one or more of these restrictions. Nowhere does it say what the action is. It just says the declaration. I mean, if there's a declaration of a state of water supply conservation or a state of water supply emergency, this is just stating what those declarations are, and they will include one of those 3 things.
Right, but that's what has to be posted publicly. I may not be explaining myself well, but because if you look at state of drought, under our definitions, state of water supply conservation, the town declares that. We declare that as the water and sewer commissioners. State of drought and the state of water supply emergency, state of drought is by the Drought Management Task Force, and the supply emergency is by the DEP. So only one of those were declared.
I mean,
So-
the issue is that items D and E say non-essential water use or use of automatic irrigation is prohibited. And what this says is that, and I'm not sure frankly how it's enforced, but it says that's what the state, what these declarations will include.
But they
But
don't-
nowhere does it say we must adopt that. I mean, this is all in, for my mind, this whole article or warrant bylaw is about enforcement authority. Right? And by giving ourselves, the select board enforcement authority, we can or potentially cannot act upon a statement by somebody from Boston.
Right, and I agree with that, but thanks to Tom, I've thought about this way too much today. I think the only power we're giving ourselves is in Section 5. And that's fine, because under Section 5, we can put in these water restrictions. But if we want to be the arbiter of our restrictions rather than the state, then Section 6 needs to be clear that a water supply emergency, we declare restrictions upon notification by the state. And I think that state of drought needs to be taken out of Section 7. Because the way I read it, Section 7 says, here's what the restrictions will be, and under Section 8, they will be publicly put out to the town by publication. And so if the state says there's a state of drought, then there has to be some sort of restrictions put into place.
So are you proposing that we delete Section 7?
No, I'm saying under Section 7, we delete state of drought. And I've got to think more about what.
So in other words, if there's if they declare a state of water conservation, water supply conservation, or they declare a state of water supply emergency.
Well, we do water supply conservation. That's us. And then we can put in those restrictions. It should probably just say state of water supply conservation.
So why wouldn't it say in Section 7, a declaration by the Long Meadow Water Commissioners?
Yeah.
Because the definition of state of water supply conservation is the Long Meadow Select Board acting as water sewer commissioners. If you get rid of state of drought and state of water supply emergency, you do not need Section 6.
So, Lynn, all I'm suggesting is a clarification in Section 7 so that it's understood that the declaration is by the Long Meadow.
Yeah, I mean, it's redundant, but you could if you wanted to.
Well, let me pitch this. Under 5A, this is when we have the power to declare a state of water supply conservation. And it can be, so one of those factors is declaration of state of drought. I think another factor could be declaration of state of water supply emergency, because that's from DEP. And then we don't need 6, and then 7 can just be a state of water supply conservation, and you can take out state of drought or state of water supply emergency. To me, that invests restricting power in the select board, and it gives us the ability to rely on state declarations. But we have discretion to do that. Just like last summer, we got lots of notices. There was lots of updates to us, and we wanted to be able to do something, but we couldn't. We could only advise. I think that this would give us the power to do that. Because if a DEP state of water supply emergency, if that in itself doesn't do anything to our water supply, then I think it should just be a factor. If we if that is something that comes down from the state, I think that we would be remiss in our duties as commissioners to not put in restrictions, but I think that it's good to have that extra step so we can look at it.
So the question that I would have is timing. Is there a concern that the Department of Environmental Protection could issue their state of water supply emergency, and this would go into effect immediately, whereas it might take up to 2 weeks for us to get together to declare the local state of water supply
Well,
conservation?
Town manager or the DPW director can declare the state as well. So we could put in here that if there is a state of water supply emergency, that, and they already have the power, but we could have a policy that if there's a water supply emergency, then DPW director or the town manager can can make a declaration and enforce restrictions at that point. Because, yeah, we saw how things changed within 2 weeks over the summer.
So where are we?
So that's my pitch, is add another, under 5A, add a declaration of, and I can clean this up with you
Yeah.
tomorrow, Mike, but a declaration of a state of water supply emergency. And we can add on to
Yeah.
that. And then, I think 6, I don't know if that does anything under my reading, unless we want DEP to put in our restrictions, and I don't necessarily think we do. So I would strike 6. And then under 7, I would strike the other 2 states after water supply conservation. And it comes up a couple other times, but I know I've talked way too much in the last 10 minutes, but I think that this invests a lot of power in the water and sewer commissioners, and as our proxy, the town manager and the DPW director, to do exactly what we wanted to get done this summer, and not necessarily to have our ear to the ground, and we can talk to our DPW director to find out, water and sewer commission, find out how much water's in there, find out when the issue comes about, rather than just get a blanket, well, Western Mass is not getting enough rain.
So under 5A, where you added that, if you look, the bullet right above it, a state of drought means something, and a state of water supply emergency means something. Those can be only declared by DEP.
Right.
So we have to finish adding that language in there.
Oh, I know, that's what I was talking to Mike. I can
Okay.
fill in with him tomorrow.
I just wanted to make sure we were all on the same page.
Well, that can be what's up above. Water supply emergency is declared by the Department of Environmental Protection under MGL, Chapter 21G, Sections 15 to 17.
So then we'll also take out, oh, no, never mind. Scratch that.
So, Lynn, does this give you any pause as?
Yeah, a ton, but it's okay. okay.
Feel free to speak on it now.
I'm not sure. Water supply conservation means something different than what those last 2 bullets are, so I don't know, but it's nothing I'm going to be able to figure out right now.
Well, we can use those factors or anything else.
Okay.
I mean, if we're having this much trouble with it, I can't imagine what's going to happen at town meeting if somebody starts
Well, yeah.
And that, you know, this is a, 3-page, 12-section bylaw when we wanted a, water and sewer commissioners have the right to enforce irrigation water use restrictions.
Right, but
Well, you know,
that might sneak through on the warrant, it might not, I don't know.
right, but the issue is, why are we spelling out, and now this is far too late for this discussion perhaps, why are we spelling out in this bylaw all the things that the select board is taking into account? And you say, you know, the select board taking into account what they're hearing from the state, from local officials, from, you know, Springfield Water Commission, you know, may impose a you know, restriction on water use. Because that's what we want to do.
Yeah.
Because other than that, this is just saying, you know, here's all the things that may lead up to you doing it, but, you know, it can't be an all-inclusive list. I mean, at this point, we are where we are. I'd say let's go for it and see if we can get this thing passed. But I think it's way more complicated than it probably needed to be.
Well, it's too many cooks, but.
No. I mean, it defines what non-essential outdoor water usage is. I mean, that's, you know, it's either outdoor water use or it's not outdoor water use. You know? Anyway. Josh, I don't even know how to make this motion based on the proposed adjustments. But I'm going to make a motion that we include Article 20 as modified here and to be clarified by Josh and Lynn.
Now, I'm really just going to pull out the water supply emergency language throughout. Like Section 10 and a couple other places, but yeah. All right, Dan, you want a second?
Second.
All right, all those in favor?
We'll give it a shot.
Okay, Article 21 is the Housing Authority. Nothing has changed since the last meeting. This will align charter with state law.
I'll make a motion that we include Article 21 in the warrant.
Second.
All those in favor?
Okay, 22 starts the 5 articles for the E-code project. This is the culmination of almost 3 years of work. Article 22 renumbers the general bylaws, and as you see, updates the references to reflect the new numbering system. This one is
Yeah,
fairly straightforward.
Yeah, I'll move we approve Article 22 for inclusion in the warrant.
Second.
All those in favor?
23 is where we start getting into the nitty-gritty changes. What I have done is create a document that we will have ready this week that crosswalks the current bylaw reference, the chapter and section, with the new one, with the rationale for the change. So it's going to show you the current numbering. The next column is going to be the actual warrant language, and then the third column is going to be the rationale for the change, to try to give voters an understanding of why something might be changing. So for example, one that I thought might cause some concern is that one right there, that's Section 2-515, prohibition on marijuana establishments be repealed. And the rationale for that is exists in the zoning code. And the best practice recommendation is to not have a general bylaw and a zoning bylaw. You don't need both. You need one or the other. Generally, it would be a zoning bylaw if it's prohibiting a marijuana establishment that would need zoning approval anyway. So you generally would only include it in your zoning bylaws. So this is just repealing the general bylaw for it. What happens a lot, and we've seen it in this document here, is when you do have it in both places, a change is made to one bylaw and it's not mirrored in the other bylaw, and then you have inconsistency in your general and zoning bylaws, which can create a world of problems. So this was a full legal and editorial analysis, and that's where a lot of these changes have come from, is because there's been discrepancies between them.
Lynn, you and I had a discussion about a couple of fine amounts or
Yep.
being adjusted. Were those ever addressed?
One of them was the sidewalks. Do you remember
Right.
what the others off the top of your head were?
I don't off the top of my head. I could,
I have them right
but I
here.
don't have
Oh, I have them right here.
it. This had to do with the amount of fines for not clearing your sidewalks. It actually appears to be going down.
It is going down,
It is going down.
yes. We were in excess of what state law allows. So you had a question on 211-002, which was up to $20. I don't have an update for you on that one.
Okay. Yeah, my concern is that it becomes cheaper not to clear your sidewalks than pay somebody to clear your sidewalks.
I do believe that language, so, for example, the 211-2, which is on page 18, is amended to add the following to the end thereof. Any person violating this section shall be subject to a fine of $20. So it generally likes to have you set the dollar amount, not saying up to, because that leaves too much discretion. So it should be clear to
Okay.
whoever's reading it that this is the fine you will receive.
Okay.
Okay, so then, I don't know.
Lynn,
if
I'm
you-
just curious, are we actually, because I guess numerous times, just either talking to people or folks that came in front of the board, it seems like we have an enforcement problem or lack thereof, just on a wide variety of issues. I'm just wondering, like, are we actually enforcing, and are we seeing bills come in for fines, like $20 for, you know, as Mark said, you know, you're not clearing your walkway or.
That's why we're hiring zoning enforcement
But-
officers.
Yep.
But I'm just curious if we feel like we're,
Paul has no time to do it.
so we're just literally not getting any.
The
of the
first
fines.
approach is education, and 9 times out of 10, residents comply because they just don't know. So that's always the first approach, is to educate people and then get voluntary compliance. And then if not, he will follow back up and issue a fine. Or if it's a repeated one that, you know, he hasn't had a response on and he's gone out on 3 different occasions, he will fine. We've done some work to beef the teeth up on fining. That was done in May of 2021 to allow unpaid tickets to be liened. So that's helped. Okay.
So I know Rebecca's, I don't know if she's still listening in on this, but I guess I'll go back to my comments at the last meeting, which is, if this gets to be overly confusing, and we get bogged down in this thing, you know, is this something we might consider a separate meeting on, these bylaws? To give, because my fear, Lynn, is, as you know, that people are gonna wanna change bylaws. As opposed to what is an administrative cleanup here, but uses an opportunity to question every bylaw that comes up here for an administrative cleaning. And if we start getting amendments offered to change bylaws,
Yeah.
I think we've gone gone bad on this thing. I don't know, I hope that doesn't happen, and I'll do everything I can to stop it, but, you know, when you open up the door, you don't know what's gonna
Yeah.
walk through it.
Well, I mean, that could happen at a special meeting, just for this as well.
Yes, it could, but you have more of a, all I'm saying is, you know, if this is all you're dealing with, you
Yeah.
put aside an hour or two to do it, but
Right.
at a regular town meeting, at a special town meeting like this, I don't know that we want to get down into the, I mean, these things ought to just, you know, assume that, you know, the E-code folks and everybody's looked through this thing and it should just pass, but I know that's asking an awful lot of the people in Long
Well,
Meadow.
luckily, we have a tough town moderator, and as you're listening there, I wonder if people do start offering amendments or speaking on bylaws that they are not happy with, what can you do to control that, and do you have to entertain motions to modify, given what the subject matter is here?
If I may address those questions, I first wanted to note that I had a conversation with Lynn this afternoon that clarified a number of questions that I had regarding this particular warrant article. It is wide-ranging, and people could have questions and discussions on a number of different matters. I am glad to learn that the town manager is putting together the document, and I reviewed a draft of it that does explain what the purpose for the proposed changes are. I understand that there's going to be a public forum. I heard that mentioned earlier. So that forum on October 19th should offer additional clarification. There will be video that explains, and a PowerPoint that explains what each of the changes does. So I want to note that it's important to do that public education first so that people have a good understanding of what specifically is going to be changed and why. To reduce confusion on this, I want to note that one of the proposed methods that I'm going to be considering for handling discussion is that we take each issue up in turn and not go through line by line specifically, but more page by page. So for example, taking, I think it starts on right now page 18. No, not even that. I'm just scrolling right now. So page 13. I would be asking for discussion on any of the items on page 13. If no one is standing in line to address those items, and of course this would be whatever the final pagination is. If there's no discussion, nobody wants to ask a question, nobody wants to understand that particular area a little bit better, then we'll move on to the next page, and so on. The aim is to keep discussion coherent, so that you don't have somebody talking about the marijuana question for leashes and have it willy-nilly, having everything go in turn. And once that happens, if somebody does wish to offer an amendment, it is their right to offer an amendment. Now, there's a wide variety of items here, and I would have to make a determination if I were given any notice of a proposed amendment ahead of time. I could let that person know ahead of time whether I would consider that within the scope of what is proposed here, or whether I would rule it out of order at town meeting. So I would advise anybody who wishes to make an amendment to contact me, request a phone call. It'll be entirely confidential, and I'll talk about what they're trying to do and see if it is within scope. I would tell them that ahead of time. And I obviously treat all of these calls confidentially. But it is citizens' right to make amendments on any proposal that does come before them at town meeting. But I would be encouraging anyone who has that proposal to contact me in advance, and I would speak with them.
So if somebody wanted to move to amend a portion of the article, that was changing the tenor of that specific article, like if it said, shall not have a beard, or it said, whatever. And you said, well, no, I want to say shall be able to have a beard. That's changing it completely. Would that be outside the scope under your rule?
That may be a little too weird, if I may. Let's just look at what's on the screen right now.
Well, all right, I'll give a better example. If it was a zoning bylaw.
Chairman to leader, something like that. Well, changing the term chairman to leader, that's a perfectly benign kind of change. One can talk about the merits of chair versus leader. It doesn't matter. But if they wanted to eliminate the Parks and Recreation Commission, that's beyond the scope.
Okay, I'll give a better example. If it's, the zoning bylaw says you can't have more than a 3-car garage, and somebody says, I'd like to amend that should say 4-car garage. Is that outside the scope of the exercise here?
My gut reaction is no, because you're.
So to me, that's completely. To me, that's completely changing the bylaw. It's changing the intent. That would be, to me, that's what should be out of bounds in something like what we're doing here.
But that specific example, Josh, isn't under consideration. I mean, one I've got is Article 3, Section 259-28A, is amended to change the fine amount from $25 to $10. That's our proposal, okay? Is amended to change the fine amount from 25 to 10. Somebody said, I want to change it, I want to amend it to change it from $25 to $5. Even though the reason we're changing it from 25 to 10 is to be consistent with state law. You'd accept an amendment to change it to $5.
And then that's up for debate.
But it would be up for debate. But you'd accept that amendment.
Yes.
But, okay, I hear you. My response is, and maybe this would be if somebody said that, is the only reason we're doing this from $25 to $10 is to make it consistent with state law. If you make it $5, we're still not consistent with state law, and we ought to just delete the whole thing. So it's just, I hear what you're saying, and I guess that's part of my concern, is that kind of situation defeats our purpose here.
Yeah, so when Rebecca and I spoke earlier today, the education on this is critical. So there's a bunch of things I'm going to do leading up to the meeting, but at the meeting I have a PowerPoint presentation that hopefully, or technology-wise, we'll be able to do, that is going to explain how we got here, why we got here, the whole process that entailed. These were vetted by Planning Board, Conservation Commission, Zoning Board, and a slew of town departments, including Select Board. You approved some over the summer. The most critical thing is approving this, because then it gets it into a format that makes it very easy for the public to use. After that, there is a huge number of bylaw changes that all of those groups felt were too controversial to make to get this passed. So those groups all have a lot of work that they're going to start tackling later on, one by one, because we know that we need to spend the time on it, do the education, and have them as standalone warrant articles as opposed to this entire package. What I'm going to try to stress is the amendments should be kept to the most minimal as possible, because this has gone through such an exhaustive legal and editorial review that one change could destroy a section that we've worked on to try to align with state law or another section of the bylaw. So really the most important is to adopt it, and if there's something someone doesn't like, we should work on it outside of the meeting and bring it forward at annual town meeting.
So Lynn, is that PowerPoint presentation something that you intend to present prior to the introduction of Article 22? Because I understand that we want to do it at our forum, fora, whatever they are, that about the town meeting, but the fact is that most people who show up to the town meeting have not gone to a forum or even looked at the town website. They walk into town, pick up a warrant, and then go vote. And if it's a valuable and can be concise enough as a PowerPoint presentation explaining warrant articles 20 through 25 or 26, that says, folks, this is why we did it, and I think that would be an ideal time and time well spent at the town meeting to do that.
Is everyone getting your explanation at the town meeting as well? The three charters that you said
Yes,
that?
it's
Okay.
15 pages right now.
Well, I
Yes.
think that's going to be the key.
Yes, that's going out. So education-wise, we have a whole strategy. By Friday, the press release goes out with the warrant article, with the warrant, I'm sorry, with the document, the overview document. The town manager newsletter goes out with all of that as well. All the website work is happening this week to create the educational content. We have the forum scheduled, and then all the social media that will happen at the same time. I mean, short of a direct mailer to everyone's house, but we're hitting all the avenues we can.
Okay.
It's fine, I just think that if there's a summary that you can present beside the 15-page handout,
Yep.
that you know, in 15 minutes tells people why they should approve Articles 23 through 26 without changes, it would be very beneficial.
Yeah, this conversation's got me a little worried.
No, you just don't know. I mean,
No, you don't,
These could
yeah.
just go by, somebody could just vote, I approve Articles 23 through 25 by acclamation, and it moves.
Yeah, it's got me nervous, but I'm going to trust in our education. I'll trust in what Lynn's strategy to get us there. And I look forward to seeing the explanation. I think that'll go a long way.
I know you can try that acclamation.
And other than the new format and the numbering, there's nothing that can't be changed. So if someone really doesn't like something, we can bring back an amendment later on.
Okay. All right, so Mike, we did 22 already, right?
Yep.
Yeah. I'll move we approve Article 23 for inclusion in the warrant.
Second.
All those in favor? And thank you, Rebecca, by the way.
And frankly, I'm going to just move to include Articles 24, 25 as well, which are the zoning bylaw renumbering and the zoning bylaw proposed changes in the warrant.
And 26 is the charter.
And fine, and I'll add 26 to it as well. One motion for Articles 24, 25, 26.
Second.
All those in favor?
Okay, that got us through the warrant.
Okay. Town manager goal setting discussion.
The first one is to get that passed at town meeting.
Yeah, well, it is a goal.
Yeah,
to
it's been on
adopt-
there for 3 years.
To adopt the E-code.
Maybe you should start with that.
Yeah, let's talk about this on October 26th.
So if you want, I could just start with this.
Yeah,
if you
that's
want.
fine.
So a document that was all shared with you in the past was uploaded to the agenda. The only change this time was that we created a new column for a continuation of goals, where we just made some immediate updates to things that are really rapidly approaching. For instance, the website launch that's going to hopefully be coming within the next few weeks. The review and refresh of the master plan, which Corinne's been working on diligently and with some other town staff to have the project completed by the end of FY24. Some promotional material is going to be going out on that pretty soon. Like Lynn mentioned before, E-code work, getting that passed at this upcoming special town meeting. Corinne made some updates about the Green Communities Grant application that was submitted, and then also our implementation of the Coalition of Racial Justice report by the formation of the DEI Advisory Council, and then also, like implementing changes to water sewer billing. So there's some things that we can close out, and then there's also some things that are ongoing projects that, take a few fiscal years to complete or are just ongoing regardless because that's just how operations work. This is pretty much intended to just guide a discussion to add any possible goals or ask for updates on certain things. I don't know if you have anything else.
No, I mean, we're intending for this to be just the initial conversation, just to make sure that this doesn't fall off the radar. And then at an upcoming meeting, we can hopefully really dive into it, give you guys a chance to look this over and figure out if there's some other things you want to add on here, or take off. And then we can finalize the document, hopefully, by no later than the second meeting in November.
Just kind of personal interest is the fifth or sixth one from the bottom says upgrade streetlights that have not been converted to LEDs. My understanding was that the only streetlights that weren't converted were actually parking lots and not streetlights.
There are some parking lots. There are a couple random ones here and there. But I'm I haven't kept as close track of it as I did right after we implemented.
Okay, yeah, because I actually have the list, Lynn, that we can pull off actually the billing, the Eversource bills for streetlights. And I know Glenbrook Middle School and a couple in Bliss Park that we did not convert because they weren't literally along the street, and we could probably do that, but, and I'm happy to share that with you. I just didn't realize, I guess the word streetlights kind of, it's really upgrade lighting that didn't get converted. Like I said, I know Bliss Park, Glenbrook Middle School had a couple, and there were a couple others in, I think, Greenwood Park.
Yep, we should refine that
And
language.
we get billed for them, so we can, I mean, they show up on the bill very precisely. So,
I know we had the charter review all the way at the bottom on the superintendent issue. I feel like since the school committee said nothing needs to be done, we can just take that off, I would think. But we can put on our final charter issues that we put off for this meeting. So might as well have that as a goal to put a bow on that one.
And there was one here also on electric vehicles and electric vehicle systems, I thought. Yeah, installation of EV chargers. This generated a lot of questions and concerns, and I know we're moving forward with the 4 or 5 that we committed to, but I'd like to suggest maybe just internally that we hold back till we decide how we want to do something with those. I mean, we're not going to take out the ones at the adult center or the DPW or the ones coming at Long Meadow High School or Wolf Swamp Fields, and maybe that's all this impacts. But at least I've come to understand that, in my opinion, it's more problems than it creates more problems than it solves.
You wouldn't be wrong there to a certain degree. I think our next step on that is, and I wouldn't say one way or another what we need to do next on actual installation. I think there probably still are better spots we could put it in. But we want to have somebody from Eversource in to talk about the rate and see what can be done there and when the expected EV-only rate is coming in.
And that's fine. That's fine. I agree with you, Josh. As part of all this discussion, I went back and I actually went back again recently and looked at what my electrical rate is in my home. I think I'm typical of Long Meadow. I mean, it's just a residence. I'm paying 30.5 cents per kilowatt hour, almost evenly split between supply and distribution, which is generation and distribution. And so, we ought to keep in mind that if I had an electric vehicle and I charged it at home at the level 2 charger, which is a 220 volt charger, I'd be paying 30.5 cents a kilowatt hour.
Don't worry, I got all the emails.
No, I'm just saying that, and I don't, now, there may be some homes in Long Meadow that were built in the 50s that were all electric, and I know some of them in my neighborhood, and those all-electric homes at the time, they got a great deal on electricity. I don't know if they still have it. I don't live in one of them. And most of those houses put solar panels on because there is no natural gas or any other. A couple of them have propane tanks, but there's no other source of heating your house beside all electric. But they may have somewhat different rates, but I don't know that. But all I'm saying is that we need to understand not only what the town is paying, generally, peak and whatever, but what people are paying in their homes as well.
Yeah, I think there's going to be a very measured approach on how we're going to
Okay.
go forward on this. Absolutely. Speaking of Wolf Swamp, when are we? I know there's a punch list. There's still things to do. But when is the actual grass itself ready?
This spring.
Okay. It's ready, you just can't plant it.
Well, yeah. And I have not been. We put up better signs. I've not been seeing people out there.
Good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thankfully. There's no man's land for a little bit there, but it's been better.
That's good.
Those signs are cool, just for clarification, because they're interchangeable, so you can put them up at any field that has ongoing construction, and then that QR code actually takes you to the site page where you
okay.
could click on which facility you're looking into and learn more about what's going on and estimated timetable. So it's
Nice. That's great.
I mean, I don't believe there's any action we need to take on these goals.
Nope,
Nope,
not
nope.
tonight.
Okay, great.
Just come up with some others, and as long as they're not all for me.
But yeah, let's, like you said, let's keep bringing it up and
Yep.
so we know where everyone is.
Yep. I think it's great. It keeps us all moving forward.
I think what we did last fiscal year is we brought it quarterly. We just provided updates.
Yep.
So if we want to continue with that, we'll
Yeah, absolutely.
certainly do that.
Moving on to the approval of the one-day liquor license policy update.
Okay, so this is amended based on the conversation that we had at our last meeting to include that disclaimer at the bottom. For insurance purposes, town departments may not be applicants for one-day liquor licenses, and town resources cannot be used to organize or facilitate events with one-day liquor licenses.
Yeah, I think makes things clear and can give guidance going forward.
I know we've reviewed this the last time, but since then I've had some comments and also thought about it myself, and I'm just wondering should there be a limit, or should we just stick with the ABCC limit on one-day liquor licenses?
And what were you thinking for a limit?
I don't know, 20, 24, something like that. I mean, ABCC I think is 36.
30.
30? Yeah, ABCC is 30. You know, that, at some point, it pays to get a liquor license. Liquor license is, I don't know,
$2,200.
$700. What?
2,200.
About 2,200, so, okay. So $50 a day, it's pretty cheap to get one for $70.
But we wouldn't grant a liquor license to a town facility.
No, but to an individual.
Can't.
You have to have a
Has to be
place,
attached to a
location.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
I pass.
Okay.
I'm not,
No, the only question that I had when I was going through the application, so would we want to put that language at the bottom of the application where it says, you know, the certificate must not have an expiration date, when in that paragraph at the bottom, if we inserted this language? I don't know if that's something that,
Oh, yeah, it's our form, so.
if we should put that in there because we're changing it.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea.
you know, the other thing we need to do on the form is talk about the timing and the.
Yep.
We talked about the, you know, in general, we accept liquor license, one-day liquor license applications 48 hours before a meeting. I guess if that works, it works, but it says at the top, something about,
Oh, the expiration date?
no,
Or
it says
the-
they should be submitted 2 weeks in advance,
30 days. Yeah.
30 days in advance, and the question is, do we want to make that a requirement?
When you said a certificate shouldn't have a, where is
I'm just
that?
reading it says at the bottom, information regarding liquor liability insurance. That paragraph all the way at the bottom on the front page of I guess the only page of the
Of the
one-day liquor
application?
license
Of
application.
the application,
Yeah,
okay,
on the
I was looking at the
application
policy.
itself, just so it speaks to what this policy states.
I
Maybe
see.
it could be the last sentence, maybe a new sentence.
Just want to pull it up to see.
Of
Well,
the
it says-
insurance?
No, the form, the
It's just
liquor
the-
license application form.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It says information regarding liquor license,
Yep.
liability insurance, and then underneath it, it says information regarding other requirements.
I think if we have room, it should go above the signature.
Or wherever it goes, I mean.
And no, so before, no person under the age of 21, because I think that's the most important part, but after that, no town resources can be used, et cetera.
Okay. Yeah, I'll just add that right in there.
All right, well,
This is in the process of becoming an online fillable as well, so
Oh,
it's
okay.
going to look a lot different anyway.
it is 2022 after all.
We're migrating a lot of it over. We're getting there.
I'll move to approve the amended one-day liquor license policy.
Second.
All those in favor? Moving on to new business. A liquor license amendment application for Max Burger for a change of manager.
Right, so the memo from Fitzgerald details that in 2021, they came forward to the board for a change in LLC structure where they're no longer, change of management structure where they're no longer an LLC. So Scott Smith is actually the current liquor license manager, and this is just in correspondence with that, or in conjunction with that application from 2021, changing it to remove Richard's name and then just replacing it with Max Hospitality LLC, its sole member, by Scott Smith, its manager, who is actually the active liquor license manager currently. Because of the change in structure to not have any LLC, they just need that removed. So that's, I believe, this probably could have all happened at the same time as that original application, but I'm not sure it was expressed that that needed to happen. Josh, I know you probably know more about this than me, but
Yeah, the purpose of a liquor license manager is to be the person in place of who is the boots on the ground for the entity that
Right.
owns the license. So, I'm not sure what they're going for here. And I mean, I don't think that, if you look at the vote of the entity, it's Max Hospitality is voting to authorize Scott Smith, manager of Max Hospitality, to appoint not applicable as the name of the liquor license manager.
yeah, because it's not changing. They're not proposing a new manager. They already have, Scott Smith is already the manager. The change that they're requesting is in that addendum or in that amendment, where they're requesting change to remove Richard Rosenthal as the LLC manager. So it's not changing the liquor license manager. I think in the memo, it should have probably said change of LLC manager, not liquor license manager. That's kind of
But that's not a change in manager.
Isn't it
It's
though?
probably the wrong, well, no, change of manager means something very specific.
Liquor
for the-
license manager,
Yeah.
right, yeah, that's what I thought as well. So it probably should be the change of LLC manager application.
Well, it might be a change of ownership, or this might just be an informational change.
Right. And that's the issue, because I believe in 2021, as detailed in the memo, this came forward to the board, and I don't believe that information I think Mr. Rosenthal was probably left or retired post that hearing, so I'm not sure if that's where the change was. It was consistent then, and now it's a new change, but we can also, I don't think there's anyone representing, so we could always push this to another meeting. We took action on it and go from there, so we could get some more clarification. I don't believe anyone was available to attend last minute, so.
No longer has an LLC manager. Yeah, this might be a different, they might have the wrong application, or I could be wrong.
I had similar thoughts to you.
This is
as
not
well.
the application I would have used for what they're trying to do.
I agree.
So I think we can take no action. I'll look into it. I can't even ask the ABCC, but I don't want us to approve it and then get it kicked back by the ABCC, who
Yep.
says, what are you doing? So we'll take no action tonight, unless there's a motion otherwise.
That's fine with me.
All right, street closure application for Long Meadow Days, I opened up the wrong file.
Fall Festival.
Fall Festival. Thank you for coming in. So you're closing from Long Meadow Street from St. Mary's Church to the end of the green. You want to tell me if I'm saying anything wrong here. You're doing a slight parade, and you'll be on there for 30 minutes?
Yes.
And Chief Stocks has spoken with you about clearing off Long Meadow Street after? And it's at 9:30. Well, the weather looks good, but you're not doing a rain date?
No, it's not rain date.
Okay.
It's gonna be warm, it's gonna be cold and nice.
All right, well, I'll cross my fingers for you.
Right, and
Okay.
I guess the only thing I'm trying to find is the police chief's comments.
It's on the bottom of the second document on
Okay.
He said that a parade gathering application was also submitted by the applicant, and approval was granted, and applicant's been made aware the parade must be off Long Meadow Street by 10 a.m. Be police officers in the parades and assisting with traffic direction.
Okay, that's,
So,
I move we approve the request for street closure from 9:30 to 10 a.m. on October 8th.
Second.
all those in favor? All right, sorry for the wait. Good luck. Good luck this weekend.
exactly. I did bring some flyers for the parade, which you could pass around.
Okay.
I'm inviting all of you guys to march in it, basically.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Think of, so.
I'm crazy and we'll be running a half marathon.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Then we have two one-day liquor license applications by LACCF. One is for Wednesday, October 12th from 5 to 7:30, and the next is October 26th from 5:30 to 7:30, both at the Adult Center. And Mary Beth here has submitted both of them. And Mary Beth, these are your normal music or art?
Oktoberfest.
Yeah, October. Let me come up here.
Sorry, yeah,
You want
please.
me to come up here? The Oktoberfest is actually our international dinner in Germany. We've been holding one a month, or every 6 weeks or so. And this is an Oktoberfest that we're holding. We have German music, German food, German lecturer. It's a cultural event.
And do both of these applications conform with our new liquor license policy?
Yes.
All right, thank you, Mary Beth. Dan, you want to take a shot?
Well, I just had a comment first.
Please.
Because I know we've been talking so much about liquor licenses, and Mary Beth, you've been coming in front of us for, I don't know, since I've been on the board now for 3 months, and I really appreciate just everything you've been doing for the seniors in the town, and I just think of my grandparents and my grandmothers who since passed, but I know they would really enjoy what you're doing, so it makes me happy that we have someone like you in town who steps up and helps our aging folks have a good time.
Yeah.
Because they deserve it. So I really
At this
appreciate
point,
it.
it's time to have fun for many of them.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I really appreciate
Yep.
it.
Thank you.
I'll move we approve the October 12th, 2022 one-day liquor license application from LACCF.
Second.
All those in favor? I move we approve the October 26th, 2022 LACCF one-day liquor license application.
Second.
All those in favor? Thank you, Mary Beth.
Thank you.
I'll move we approve the state election warrant for November 8th.
Second.
All right, all those in favor? Okay, and just down on correspondence, if anyone's looking, we have on there the letter that was referenced regarding the retirement system insurance coverage, and some feedback on electric charging, which I asked for, and I thank people for. I got some varied responses. People can maybe be a little more civil in their emails, but I do thank you for the feedback regardless. Anything else from the board?
I just had a question on the correspondence. So I know I brought this up to Lynn and Mike, but maybe, I don't know, maybe I need to bring it up to the board, but what I'm finding is that I don't get some of these messages until, I'm getting this message or the correspondence maybe 3 days before the select board meeting. So I was just wondering if there's a way that we could, whether it's setting up the email differently where it could get routed individually to the board members, because I would like to get some of these messages in advance to respond to folks, rather than, after the select board meeting or just days before.
Dan, I think you're absolutely right. All we gotta do is ask Mike, when you get something to the select board,
Yeah,
can
of
you
course.
just forward it to the four of us, I guess,
Yeah.
right now? Yeah, that's a great idea, Dan.
Yeah.
You can even BCC it so we can't reply all.
Right, or I could just put in, please do not reply all to this,
Because specifically, there was, I think we had a gap in meetings. It was like 3 weeks or something, and then 3 weeks go by, you see this email, and you're like, geez.
Right, and there are also some emails that are sent to the select board account that are also our admin emails, also CC'd on it. The town manager email is also CC'd on it. So someone is sending a response from those emails as well, acknowledging receipt. But yeah, no, I have no problem, historically, just we've presented it as correspondence, but I have no problem forwarding it along as it comes in.
Great.
Yeah, please do.
All right.
Good idea.
Thank you.
Of course.
All right, motion to adjourn?
Second.
Were you asking or?
Or was that? I'll do either. I'll move to adjourn. And Dan already seconded. All those in favor?
All right.
All right, thank you, everyone. Good night.